Hello everybody, it's Connie Stewart with SimplySimpleStamping.com. Thank you guys so much for joining me for a new Make It in Minutes video. Guys, I've got 2-for-1 cards for you today. You're gonna love these. Created with such minimal supplies. We just know how to use them very, very wisely. We're gonna create a couple of really simple birthday cards using a stamp set that may be new to you called Celebrate with Cake. Guys, these cards are super fun to make. Are you ready to learn how? Okay, I say we get started then. I love creating 2-for-1 cards. They're so much fun. I just feel like I get more for my money that way. So we're gonna create just a fun It's Your Day card and then a birthday card. We're gonna be using a stamp set that you may not have seen before. This stamp set is called Celebrate with Cake. The reason you may not have seen this one before is because this is in our beginner's brochure. So this is a great stamp set if you're a brand new stamper, but you know what? Even if you're a seasoned stamper, what's not to love about birthday cake, candles, hearts, balloons, flowers, birds, and a cute little mailbox and some wonderful sentiments. Am I right? Okay, let me share with you the cardstock you need to create our 2-for-1 cards. I have a piece of Whisper White thick cardstock. This is an 8.5 by 11. I have scored it in half at 5.5 inches. And I'm going to cut that in half at 4.25 inches. That's going to get my 2 card bases. I have a piece of Daffodil Delight cardstock, 3 3/4 by 5 inches. For my card today, it's a birthday card. I wanted to go bright and cheery. I'm using Melon Mambo, Daffodil Delight, Granny Apple Green, and then my Tuxedo Black Memento ink pad. I'm going to bring in some gorgeous ribbon. How about some Granny Apple Green texture weave ribbon? This is so pretty. I have a piece 16 inches, 5.5 inches, and 4 inches, and we'll be using those on both of our cards. On my cards today, we'll be using the stitch shaped dies. We'll be using the squares. If you don't have these, you can also use the layering squares. They're going to work as well. And because I think every card deserves some great texture, how about the brand new hammered embossing folder? This is going to give us some amazing texture on our cards. All right, let's go ahead and start by doing our cutting on our Daffodil Delight. Now, in this die set, we have 4 squares. We're not going to use the largest one on this one. We're going to use the second to largest. And what I'm going to have you do is line that up right here in the bottom right corner. You notice the edge of the die is right on the edge of the cardstock. That's what we need. Let's run this through our die cutting machine. And we are going to have that and a fabulous little square. Now this here, we need to snip that away. We don't need this little excess, and don't worry if it's not perfect, it's not going to show. We're going to be putting a frame around it. So we just want to go ahead and have that excess off of there. All right, now we need to do some die cutting from our Whisper White here. So you can see I have a window cut out of this one. Again, largest die. I'm going to open up my card. And we're going to die cut that from the upper area. So you can see I want to center it on the top and the 2 sides. And we have our window, and of course we have a giant square. All right, so that's where I cut my big square. We're now going to take that next size down. We're going to die cut a frame out of that, so we'll end up with a smaller square. And you can see we now have a frame. So we have our little bit smaller square there. And guess what? We're going to come in, we're going to go down 1 more notch. So we're going to take the next smaller size and we're going to nest again to create 1 more die cut. And there is our next frame and our square. All right, here is everything cut. So we have 1 card that's just normal, plain, we haven't done anything. We have 1 with a window, and then you see we have 2 frames and a little white square, and then we have the Daffodil Delight cut out of the corner. All right, now let's do a little embossing. We're going to emboss these 2 pieces here. So when I emboss this one, I actually want the long side to the right, okay? We're going to place that in the hammered embossing folder. Let's run that through. The reason I wanted that to the right is I wanted the raised texture to be up. So we have that. Let me now come in with the card, and we're going to place this one inside. And actually, I'm going, because I want this side to be that raised side, I'm going to flip it over, and we're going to place it in our embossing folder. And you're just going to line up the score line with the edge of the embossing folder. Let's run that through. All right, there we go. Embossing is done. It's time to now do some stamping. All right, let's bring in, we're going to start with this card. So I'm going to start with that Whisper White Thick. Let's bring in a Granny Apple Green and a Melon Mambo ink pad. We're going to ink up the stems. All right, now let me show you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to lay, you notice it's not adhered. I'm just going to use this as a visual to help me to see right where my stems need to go. So you can see I'm just going to center that up in this square area, and it's kind of coming along right here at the edge. All right, now let's come in with Melon Mambo and make some pretty tulips. I love photopolymer stamps just for this reason, because I'm going to just line those 3 tulips up, and I'm going to get them perfect. Haha, love it. Okay, now I'm not going to stamp the sentiment just yet because I want to kind of put my card together first. So I'm going to take those pieces, the smaller pieces of my Granny Apple Green ribbon, and I'm just going to lay that here up at the top. And I will get it centered up. Let's flip it over, and I'm just going to put some snail adhesive here to hold that ribbon in place. I'm going to actually be using Stampin' Dimensionals here in a minute to really make sure it's on there well, but that'll hold it. And I'll take that 4 inches. We're just going to tie it over once. Just a pretty little ribbon knot. We'll trim this down. Let's add some Stampin' Dimensionals to the back of this embossed cardstock. You notice I'm going here on the sides. I want to kind of make sure I have some pop right there. I need a little extra security. Here's where I said I was going to use dimensionals on that ribbon. I can just kind of touch that ribbon and make sure it just gives it a little extra security. Okay, we're going to remove these backings, and then we'll just adhere that to our card. Now, we're going to go in with one of those frames, and it's the largest one. And it's going to, look at that. Isn't that cute? It's just going to kind of frame it up a little bit. Now, there is a trick to this. Remember, this has been raised. So if I try to adhere this down, that's going to look a little funny. So we need to put mini Stampin' Dimensionals on this side and just adhesive on this side. I know, a little confusing, but trust me, it makes it worth it. So I'm going to flip this over. And as I said, I know I need dimensionals here and here. So that's going to be here and here. The mini ones, I'm doing that because look at that. They fit perfect on there. All right, there we go. And you notice I didn't go all the way to the ends. Let me show you. I'm just going to set this on here because that frame is actually going to be touching. I didn't want my dimensionals to go too high, if you know what I mean. So I kept the ends here kind of lined up with the actual frame. Now, I need to adhere this onto here. I'm just going to do that with some little dots of snail. I mean, I don't need to go crazy. The dimensionals are going to do most of the work there for me. And now we'll adhere it. You see, there are my dimensionals. There you can see why we needed that dimension. I'm now ready to add my sentiment. I think you see why I decided to wait. And we're going to say, it's your day, and we're going to stamp that right there. Oh my gosh, so cute. I want to bring my original in because I want to show you what I did here on the inside. So I stamped the flowers again. And then I used that smaller frame. Remember, we had that little smaller frame. I framed up my flowers, and then I just stamped It's Your Day right underneath it. So that's how we're going to use that extra little frame. So our first card is done. Now we're going to stamp our other card. So I'm going to bring in Daffodil Delight and the cutest little bird ever. We're going to stamp her up in Daffodil Delight. I'm going to stamp down here in the bottom left corner. And since this is a birthday card, we're going to take that tiny little birthday hat and put it on our bird. I'm doing that in Melon Mambo. And then I'm going to say, it's your day. And we'll stamp that just like we did before in our tuxedo black. Does something seem a little off about this bird? Yes. She has no eyes and she really has no beak. I'm going to come in with a journaling marker, and I'm just going to put a little dot there in her eye, and I'm just going to draw a little triangle for the beak. Kind of makes it stand out a little bit more. And now we're ready to put this card together. So we're going to take that Daffodil Delight square, and we're just going to center it up right there inside our window. My little stamped sentiment, I went ahead and put dimensionals on the back, and we'll add our little focal image. Now for our ribbon, I'm going to get a little creative, and I'm going to come in with a 1-inch circle punch. Now, if you don't have the circle punches, you can also use the smallest stitch shape circle as well, but we're going to go ahead and just use a punch because it's nice and easy. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up the edge of my punch with the edge of the cardstock. Okay, and I'm going to snip, I mean just barely. Can you see we're just getting just a little tiny sliver, all right? Let's repeat that here on the other side. So that kind of gives us a little notch. Now we're going to come in with that 16 inches of ribbon. And you see, do you see how it just kind of notches right in there? We're going to tie this in a square knot, right over left and under, left over right and under. And then remember, the key is only pull what's in your left hand. And you see, that's what's going to give you that pretty square knot. All right, we're going to trim this down. I love how that green just pops on the card. And let me come back in with my first card so you can see. Truly amazing that we were able to create 2 really fabulous cards. And you remember how little cardstock we started with. 1 sheet of 8.5 by 11 and just that little 3 3/4 by 5 inches of Daffodil Delight. That was it, guys, that and the ribbon. And we were able to create the 2 cards just using those pieces. There you go. I'm telling you, these were really super simple cards, and I think they look just bright and cheery. Fun to have these cards already made, ready to go. So when I need a birthday card, I can just pull one of these cards, and I know I've got a super cute card to send to a friend. Guys, these were a lot of fun to make, and I hope you're going to give them a try. Now, if you want to learn more about the cards, or maybe you need to get those stitched shapes, let me tell you where you can find that. If you'll just head over to simplysimplestamping.com, just look for the December 7th, 2019 blog post. That's where I'll have all the details about the cards and the products that I used. And if you need to order any of the supplies, it's super easy. Click a pick. That's all you need to do. Just click a pick. It's going to take you right to my online store, and you can order what you need there. My friends, if you don't have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I would be thrilled to be yours. So I hope you'll consider ordering over at simplysimplestamping.com. If you enjoyed the video today, would you give me a thumbs up on YouTube? I always appreciate that. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, why not subscribe? Just click that great big red subscribe button up there in the corner. YouTube will let you know whenever I'm back with a new video. I would love to share more stamping inspiration with you, so I hope you'll consider subscribing. All right, my friends, that is all the stamping I have for you today. Be sure to tune in again. I have more waiting for you. We'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.